Hello, Edgerton Bulldogs. This is Dayton,
Abby, and Tanner
from Mr. Bazell's 5th grade class. We hope you had a great weekend. This week we will enter the last full month of school.
May! Now it's time for the Edgerton Fun Fact. Today's Edgerton Fun Fact is that there are 24 classrooms at Edgerton that range from preschool to 5th grade. Now it's time for Teacher Spotlight! Today's Teacher Spotlight is Mrs. Ubell. She is our PE teacher. Some fun facts about her are: her favorite color is red. Her favorite food is any Italian food. She has been a teacher for 16 years. Two fun facts about Mrs. Ubell is that she has a German Shepherd puppy named Timber, and she will be running in the North Face Endurance Challenge next week in New York.
Every week we will be announcing students' names who have a birthday. Here are birthdays for this week and last. Bella from Miss Napier's class, Ella from Miss Schreiner's class, Taryn from Mr. Bazell's class, Ethan from Mrs. Burnham's class, Olivia from Mrs. Muller's class, Layla from preschool, Natalie from Mrs. Maddox's class, Tyson from Mrs. Maddox's class, Aiden from Mrs. Maddox's class, Ella from Mr. Bazell's class. Gabby from Mr. Bazell's class, Spencer from Mrs. Armstrong's class, Lance from Mrs. Burnham's class, Jacob from Mrs. Schreiner's class, Gavin from Miss Carpenter's class, Tucker from Miss Palmer and Wakefield's class, Serena from Mrs. Robbins' class, Jackson from Mrs. Maddox's class, Veda from Miss Burnham's class, Ethan from Miss O'Brien's class, Britannia from Mrs. Maddox's class, Avon from Mrs. Hensley's class, Brielle from Mrs. O'Brien's class. We hope you have a great birthday!
We have so many great students here at Edgerton. We call them Students of the Week. This week's winners are Mason from Mrs. O'Connell's class,
Colton from Mrs. Hensley's class,
Megan from Mrs. Sanders' class,
Isabella from Mrs. Palmer and Mrs. Wakefield's class,
Austin from Mrs. Napier's class,
Logan from Mrs. Adkins' class,
Ty from Mr. Nickenen's class,
Charlotte S. from Mrs. Carpenter's class,
Anthony from Mrs. Burnham's class,
Mr. Bazell's class,
Tyler from Mrs. Grigoletti's class.
Congrats to our students who were chosen this week. Make Edgerton awesome. Be respectful, responsible, and safe.
Today's Positive Paw ticket winners are Ronan from Mrs. Smith's class, Kate from Mrs. Maddox's class, Kinley from Mrs. Baker and Mrs. Lunsner's class, Rio from Mrs. Hensley's class, and Addison from Mrs. Hensley's class. Here is this week's discussion starter. Please turn to a neighbor and discuss the answer to the question for 30 seconds. There will be a bell letting you know when there are 5 seconds left. Here is our discussion starter for the week.
Why do you think it is important to be kind?
Here where Mr. Kelly was 2 weeks ago. Here's where he was.
Thank you.
This week's Golden Lunchbox winner is Mrs. Armstrong, 1st grade class. Most days of the week, the class remembered their thank you. And the one day someone didn't, a boy gently reminded the classmate they forgot. What a class, well done.
The Bulldog bit for this week shows us how to be polite in the hallways of Edgerton when someone is greeting you.
When someone says something nice to you, make sure to say something nice back.
Remember, kindergartners, we have pancakes for parents on Friday.
Bulldog!